9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Wednesday Sessions is devoted to Seattle's musical history in the jazz, funk, and soul scene. We will be exploring artists' history and influences in a live stream format where you will have a chance to interact while enjoying on-the-spot live performances. Turn up the sound because Weekly Wednesday Sessions begins now. We got the technical bugs worked out. Thank you so much for joining us. I have with me here Mr. Chris C.D. Littlefield. This guy, he has a horn in his hand, as you can see. He's an electrified horn player. Very few people go down this vein. Very, very cool stuff. Ooh, yeah, I like that close-up. Very nice. He's a teacher down at the Seattle Drum School, an educator, so you can go ahead and get lessons from him if you like what you're hearing. Go ahead and hit him up. He's been involved very heavily in the jam scene, which is a big reason why I brought him on board. He knows the history of Seattle, like probably both sides of his hands, you know?
You're too kind, Joey.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you, CD. We're gonna go ahead and start out with a jam here, and I always like to start out with something that's kind of down the, something familiar to start out the whole thing. But this is a special show because as you can see, there's some electronics going on here. Check it out.
They can't see my rig, but yeah.
Yeah, you can't see his rig, but he's
I can corroborate.
You can see like just a hint of it on the one side there, like right there. All right. Remember, if you like what you're hearing, give it a share. Yeah.
Joey Soulbaum. Yes, y'all. Wow, that was, man, my in-ear rig kind of fell apart on me here at a crucial moment. I had to
Oh
just
no.
work through it, but
Oh,
Joey,
good thing I had the amp on there. Yeah.
man, I got to say, it's like you and I are no strangers to this format.
Yeah.
Just to do a quick plug about the hybrid electronic musicians that we are, because we're primarily instrumentalists rooted in tradition, and we've adapted so much stuff technology-wise.
We've
managed to
through
bend
it a bit
it to
with
our
that.
will,
Yeah.
and yet with all these years, just in case y'all don't know, it's like you and I have been playing together electronically for over 7 years, right?
Yeah, that's about right.
And okay, so the backstory is like when I met Joey at a jam session in the U District, and I went there to go play jazz, mind you, not necessarily being a jazz musician, but you were there. We were playing with Littlefield and was it Joe Doria?
Yeah.
And I think this was the first time, and so we fell into this whole discussion about electronic music. Now, at that point in time, there weren't a whole lot of jazz musicians, funk musicians, live instrumental musicians, other than like say guitar players and DJs, mind you, and vocalists that were doing that more the hybrid thing. At that point, it was just starting to become a thing.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't even starting to become a thing. It wasn't a thing yet. But he and I started talking about doing electronic music, and then I found out that you were using Reason. Propeller had a common denominator software that we both use and
at
love.
At the time,
And you've evolved beyond.
migrated over to the Ableton world.
Exactly. And so with that started the whole thing. And so then at that point in time, I've been playing with pedals and electronics, for my horn effects, all that kind of stuff for a bunch of years. But I brought it to that session, and also to that jam session. It was the first time you brought out Reason, but you hadn't moved to Ableton Live
Yeah,
yet.
no.
And
It's just really very recent.
yeah, and it's like just totally struck a chord right then and there, and it was really funny because I was talking about resurrecting an old band that I had that was a hybrid electronic thing with some of the members from the Tiny Universe, Blue Sirkut, and then we got together and because like the original keyboard player had started the new incarnation, which eventually became Klozd Sirkut.
Right.
And then it was just by divine providence that Joey and I wound up in the right place in space and time. And so that started the whole ball rolling, culminating into the events you see before you now. So.
I believe actually, I think I first met you with doing a gig with Davey Nefos. It was in like the lounge area. Remember?
Lounge area?
Yeah,
Of what? Lounge area or what?
not the lounge area. Well, what do you call
Which lounge
in the
area do you
in the
speak of,
auditorium
my
when you're kind of like waiting out in the auditorium kind of holding area? I'm the foyer, whatever.
Yeah, but what venue? What was that?
It was up in like Edmonds or something, or up that direction. It was up a little up
Lord.
north.
Oh, wow.
It was a long time ago. But yeah.
So that was before that. What was the club in the U District that we...
would have been Lucid.
Lucid.
Yeah.
That was a really cool little room.
Yeah.
That was a very cool little room.
So far, I think every guest I've had on here has mentioned Lucid.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's a big common thread,
Yeah.
a common denominator, especially for like the jazz musicians who were crossing over at that point in time, like when I met you, into the funk jam improv realm. Because that directly tied in it was a throughput for you guys going directly into the Sea Monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
As that venue went down, the Sea Monster started to rise up even more. Mm-hmm. It's 10 tentacles.
Yeah.
No, it's 8, but we'll just throw 2 more on for.
There's a lot of tendrils out there. There's too many threads to keep track of, my friend.
Well, thank you all again for joining us. That was so much fun. He told me to let's go ahead and do Bye Bye Blackbird and then I threw this at him, this whole.
And I said, ooh wee.
He told me to do it at 63 BPM, and just like I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. And I slowed some things down, and that's what happened.
Yeah, that was.
Of course,
your arrangement was kind of sick.
Hey, thanks,
Kind of
dude.
ish.
You know,
Dope-ish.
that's how I roll, man. I can't do the changes just how they are. Are you kidding me? Those changes are kind of vanilla by
I
themselves,
like to
but
say,
they have
Joey,
a lot of
give yourself
taste.
some credit.
Thanks, CD.
More credit than that.
Well, I want to talk to you a bit about one of the main things about this whole show is to talk about the improv scene, to talk about, you know, 'cause Seattle is known for that. And one of the things that I've gotten a lot of comments about, I'm hearing myself echo. One of the things that I get a lot of comments about from people that come to Seattle is that when you go to other cities tend to not necessarily jam the way that Seattle does in the sense of completely making everything up on the spot. Whereas usually in other cities they tend to play songs of some kind and use that as a springboard to get somewhere.
Yeah.
What's your experience like in contrast?
I can tell you two examples of that. Most recently, if we're going to start from the current timeline or most recent timeline and move our way backwards, starting in LA, there's a well-known night. It's called Super Soul Mondays. Super Soul Mondays, and it moves around in various different locations in the city. But it's always on a Monday, but it's an undisclosed location. And what's the guy's
Really?
name?
That's kind of like
JJ?
Love City Loves.
For real?
Was like that, yeah.
Okay.
It always moved around, and we never knew where it was going to be because it all depended on which building was being demolished next.
Oh, that goes even more underground. This one is held in a club, and they will do a residency for a while there. And they have like a mailing list and their whole network of getting information out, but it's not advertised, say, like on social media or anything like that. And it goes out through their network. And so like they'll be posted up at a particular venue for like a month, 6 weeks, couple of months, whatever, feels right, and they'll just move it to some other spot. But the whole thing about it is it's improvisationally based, and it's all run by the keyboard player. His name is JJ, and I can't remember his last name. And I had a chance to go check this night out a few times being in LA, like, having a night off and touring, we played in LA and we went a day early or something like that. So we went and checked it out. And what it is just that model you were just describing where they're using a lot of cover tunes as a springboard or a framework. Mm-hmm. And the keyboard player, who's a phenomenal singer, he's sitting at a Rhodes, just like what you've got. He's got a suitcase model. And there's some rehearsal that has gone on before. You just kind of know because there's no way that they can get through all these changes and all these tunes, just randomly. But the cool thing that he does,
or the kind of thing,
he superimposes whatever he's doing. He'll superimpose like I don't know, like Bruno Mars, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye. All the way, on and on and on and on. And he'll be whatever tune they're playing, and it may not be the same chord change, but it's close enough and it's in the key, and he'll just start singing that tune and make it work in what they're doing. And he's got a full rhythm section behind him, so guitar, keys, bass, and drums.
Yeah.
And then a whole horn section.
Okay.
And then occasionally he invites up all these other musicians to come sit in. Now, this is LA, right? So this is the entertainment hub of the United States, right? All right. So what is the caliber of musicianship you think that you might see in this club in LA? Well, as it turns out, he's got all these top flight musicians that are part of this circle of members of this thing that he's using. So he's got
studio musicians and stuff that
studio musicians, he's got what's my man's name? Not Jason Moran's. Singer. Used to be in the Backstreet Boys. Who am I thinking of? You know what I'm talking about. Why am I forgetting his name?
I'm spacing his name too.
Justin Timberlake.
Timberlake, yeah.
Okay, so Justin Timberlake, his backup band shows up there.
Okay,
His drummer, Stevie Wonder's drummer shows up. His horn section, which is the guys are the regiment horns. They show up and they're just it's kind of stupid, and it's just everything is on the fly. It's a whole nother level of improvisation, but it's really uncanny how they do it. But you can tell there's a little bit of a script, and the musicianship is such a high caliber.
So there's that access to having all that knowledge of all the different tunes,
and they're drawing on stuff, and all these guys have played together. You can tell whatever their cachet of musicians is something like 50 strong or something like that. That's allowed in the club, but they all know the rules and how to participate.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that, and then there's like the Black Lily, which goes back even further. So that's in the early 2000s, and that was like in Philadelphia. And what that night was, like, Jill Scott came out of there. Erykah Badu used to go there. With, like, the Roots were involved in that heavily on that night. And, all this stuff in the early 2000s. And so I got a chance. I was on a tour. I think I was out with Karl. We were there for a day or two, something like that. So somebody told us about that. And then coincidentally, it was really funny. The members of Mock-Tube, the band that Reggie Watts, was from, was in town at the same time. I think we were there playing a festival or something like that. And so Thaddeus Turner was there. Davis Martin, the drummer from Mock-Tube, who also teaches the drum school with me.
Of course.
Reggie didn't show up that night. He didn't come down. But anyway, we got there, and so the way that they ran that night, it was almost like a variety show. It was like kind of like showcases. So bands were showcased, and maybe a handful, and somebody would get up and do like 2 or 3 songs, like a single or whatever like that. And there was an MC that kind of moderated the whole night and kept it going while things were transitioning. There was spoken word, there was a band, there was a little bit of comedy. Then there's always a backing band, and they would either play a cover or they would improvise something. And so like it was this crazy smorgasbord of all this stuff, and it was just so like, but it wasn't the same thing as like you were talking about, to bring the story back around, how Seattle has completely done it completely off the cuff. I mean, it's just straight out the top of the dome, and maybe it's just something in the water. I don't know, but
Maybe.
we've been doing it that way since the 90s, and it just occurred that was the way to go about doing it. So we did and have been. And it stuck.
Right. Well, like, okay, so on that note, because one of the things about is one of the groups that was kind of led by or paved the way a bit happened in the 90s, right? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 700 Club was a bit of a key element to that right there, and it's been brought back to life a little bit.
Oh yes, sir.
Down at the Sea Monster.
Yeah, and so like that particular venue, which actually was it right next to the then new police precinct. I can't remember what it was downtown. It was like 4th and Virginia, 4th and Blanchard, something like that. It was an old decrepit building, and downstairs is like the First Start, a Head Start, or Fresh Start kitchen. That's down there. It's for people who are transitioning through their lives, who probably have been institutionalized or off the streets or all those kinds of stuff. And they have this program downstairs in that building, which is a kitchen for people to learn the culinary arts, but have been through more trying circumstances in their lives and trying to get back on track and renew. So that's been downstairs for right when the 700 Club capitulated or fell under, because that building was like old and decrepit. The floor used to bow and bounce, and we were always wondering, like, we're always planning our escape route every night we played. It's like, and which way you gonna go if the floor caves in at night? It's like, well, I got my eye on that window over there.
It's like what's that club in Seattle? Our place is like that. They have the 3rd floor. It's like that hip hop thing vibe going on up there. And the floor, it's like it's nerve wracking. Yeah.
But it never caved in, and that night that club used to be packed every night. I mean, I'm talking like Wednesday through Saturday, and then Sundays you might get a little bit of a break, But when I say Wednesday through Sunday, so like it was pretty much, the club was open 7 nights a week, and there was something going on, and it was live every night. Crack Sabbath started playing there.
Okay, I was gonna ask, like, who are some of the players that were like showing up?
Sirkut had a residency there on Tuesdays, and it was packed. Yeah, it was Tuesdays. There was the King of Clubs. It was a Wednesday thing, and that was like culminated into like one of the biggest nights. I mean, it was literally like a Saturday night on a weekday.
Okay.
And that was one of the big, completely all improvised. Tiffany Wilson started showing up there.
Oh yes.
I think that's one of her first. Not Michael Weintraub, but Michael
Wassman.
Michael Wassman. That's the first time I met him.
I know that. I know that.
And I was going like,
part of the scene back then.
Is this dude? Chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate used to come down and show up. Reggie would, every once in a while. But Mock-Tube had their own residency at that point in time, and their band was kind of on this trajectory at that point. So theirs was Sunday night, and that was called Slow Gear or Slow something. And that was kind of like the 700 Club industry night. So all the cats that played throughout the whole week came down on Sunday nights and just hung out. And so they would have like this really cool, moderately but you could move around rooms sort of club, but everybody was just chilling. They were just improvising as well.
So the
But it was
700
a
Club
whole
was
band.
mostly a Sunday night jam.
No, 700 Club was the club, was the venue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Gosh, I
when
don't
the
know why I'm
Sea
getting
Monster
confused.
adopted that
Okay.
name on Saturdays, I think is when they put that there, and over the last 2 years.
But the
something like
jam,
that.
I guess,
They call
was
it
a Sunday.
The night is 700 Club, so they're sort of paying homage to that.
Yeah.
Which was a huge culmination of where a lot of these things started. I mean, and it goes back even further than that. I mean, if you want to look at a couple of years prior to that, there was Spice at Moe's,
Okay,
which
right.
was a complete, and that was the acid jazz period in time, and so that was a DJ who was spinning a lot of acid jazz stuff. It was really concurrent with what they were doing in New York. The club or the night or the even record label was Giant Steps. And like the Brooklyn Funk Essentials came out of that whole movement. The Groove Collective, have you ever heard of them? They came out of all that stuff. So that's what they were doing. And they were
They're
mostly
sick.
improvised bands. They had some loose arrangements, all that kind of stuff. But they had a similar night where it was a DJ and musicians playing with the DJ. And this is really the source of where all this stuff that led to the 700 Club and everything else beyond after that. Because we were playing, it was just a couple horn players playing with a DJ, maybe a percussionist, a keyboard player, all that kind of stuff. But it was packed every Sunday night up at Moe's.
Okay.
And this is in the late 90s. Then the 700 Club came around. There was a few other things that happened along the way, but the 700 Club was really the thing.
Pratt City Smokehouse.
Oh, and then there was that too. Do you want me to get into that one also?
I'm curious. Just from the name alone, I'm just kind of like, what's up with that one?
All right. You ready for this story too?
Is it because
It's a long one.
is it a
you
long
know.
one? Well, maybe we should play another tune or something.
Yeah, maybe we do that.
Let's
and then
play a
we'll
little
come back
music,
to
then
that.
we'll come back to that one, and then we'll dive into a bit of the different bands and ensembles and stuff that you've been a part of, and then
Yeah,
we'll be
absolutely.
showing some music, some
sounds so much different
original
now.
songs that he's written that's on the docket too.
Okay.
But right now, speaking of improvisation, let's improvise.
Oh, that's right. There's that. We have to demonstrate.
Yes.
This is the demo model.
Karen said 7th of Virginia was.
Oh, that's it. Thank you, KZ. That's so funny. Are you like the only ones that call her Karen? I just said KZ, and I always call her Karen.
She actually prefers to go by KZ too. So
I know, and
it's
it's
cool.
really funny because like people ask me because I got initials as well, you know. So everybody calls me CD.
everybody calls it CD,
And then
right.
every once in a while, somebody asks me about it. It's like, where does CD come from, or what do you prefer to go by? Do you like Chris better, or you know? It's like, man, whatever feels comfortable. But there's for some people, everybody identifies in a different way. You know, if you ask my aunts, or uncles from California, they all call me Christopher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never
Most
heard
of
you
my
called
cousins.
Christopher. Not once this whole time.
No, you
It's
had
been 7, 8
no,
years,
you did.
folks, and I have never
We were
heard Christopher.
We were on tour in California. My cousin Sean came to the show, and we were playing in Berkeley or El Cerrito. You remember that little club, the place where you did the time lapse photo
Oh,
of the setup?
okay.
Okay, that little spot.
Yeah.
My brother was there, and my cousin Sean showed up, and he always, to this day, he still calls me Christopher.
Wow.
You know, and we were sitting there talking, and he just kept calling me Christopher. And then he asked me, "It's like, is it okay to call you Christopher?" And I'm like, "Please, you have to ask me that question after all
this
these
time.
years."
yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Well, okay, so I don't know. Let's I'm gonna bring up the tempo a little bit from 63. Bring the tempo up from there.
God, you're gonna make me go fast now.
Just a little bit. We'll just bring it up a little bit.
You got a key. You're not even gonna let me in on that. Well,
I'll
not like
keep-
we ever do that on stage anyway.
I know. You might keep.
Why am I even
I
asking?
know. Why are you asking? Why are you even asking? I think I have an idea.
Of course you do.
All right. Let's take it.
Take it there.
Take it there. Right there. Right there.
Right there.
You sure? Sure about that?
Right there.
All right. Getting the loop going. Here we go. Let's try out this one. Watson Jumbe in here? And it won't be complete without a shaker.
this up, I may have to start playing a bass line or something. I know you didn't want me to do that early, but I'm gonna mess with you anyway.
All right, let's get a pad, huh?
This is something new right now. This is something we can do right now. This is something we do now. This is something we do now. This is something we can do right now. 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 This is new right now. This is new right now. This is new right now. This is us right now. This is us right now. Bring it down, man. Bring it down. Bring it down. Ooh-wee.
Wait. All right, hey. There you have it, improv number 1. We're going to end the show with one more improv, too, so hang around. That was fun, CD.
Yeah, I know. It kind of reminds me of like, well, as much as I hate to say it, the good old days. Oy.
It's it's my first time doing a looping thing with somebody here in the room with me, so that's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's a fun experience.
You know, I promise you, if you have me back the next time, I will have my own personal looping business together.
Well, yeah, we should do a night, do electronic night. We're getting
I'm all for it.
lots of loves, lots of hearts over here. Thanks for that. Hey, Morgan, thanks for jumping in.
Oh.
Thanks, Yasu. Hey, Yasu,
Mo.
great seeing you.
Hey, Mo.
Pamela, hey, thanks for jumping in. Hey, thanks for the nices and the light and the loves and the likes and all
Yes,
that
yes, y'all.
sort of stuff. Much appreciated, y'all. It was so much fun.
Oh, man.
Where were we?
Shout out to Mojam Mondays for crying out loud. Good
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's just like, it's been really, if you think about it, even though this is like, we're living in an unprecedented time, the phenomenon that happens once every 100 years. But it's in a short amount of time that has gone by, really, 6 months, a little over 6 months, that we've been caught up in as I've been calling it, the time of pandemic and protests.
Yeah.
And actually, I kind of made a personal note to myself I wasn't going to get into that tonight. which I'm not.
Pandemic, protest, and personal reflections.
Yeah, there you go. That's a nice one. I wanted to add that one on there, the 3 Ps. But it's so many things, like I've almost forgotten about this, like, gosh, Mojam Mondays, all the nights of the Sea Monster, the Marmalades, all that kind of stuff, touring. And I, honestly, in as much as I hate to say it, I don't really miss touring.
Oh, yeah.
I don't miss
Well,
being
you've done
gone.
quite a bit of it. And with Karl Denson, from Karl Denson's Tiny Universe, we should go ahead and throw that out there because we haven't mentioned it yet. CD is very well known around the world, actually, as being a trumpeter.
Okay, now you're really being too kind.
Oh, that's true. It's true. You've done world traveling with Karl, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Never been to Europe with him, though.
Not Europe, yeah.
No, he's
You
been
got to
to Europe
hang on
a
just a
bunch of
little
times.
bit. You got to hang on a little tiny bit longer.
Most recently with the
just to get Europe.
Rolling Stones.
Oh.
That's right. Karl is officially a Rolling Stone.
Dude, wow.
He has been for
Really?
oh gosh, what, three years now? 4 years.
And a lot of you out there don't realize that you've actually seen Karl, because he's been
Uncle Karl.
He's been in which they calls you lovingly. I had it in the openers. If you guys saw in the opening,
it was Bobby Bird.
Bobby Bird. Yeah.
Does anybody know who Bobby Bird is?
It
was James Brown's.
Yeah, James Brown, right?
The right-handed man
man.
who like did all that. Get in line. That's like
That's so.
soul power. What we need, soul power. Get on up.
Yeah.
That was Bobby Bird.
Karl.
That was me as Karl's. That was my best Bobby Bird impersonation.
See, now I say that many of you don't realize you've seen Karl.
Soul power.
So awesome, because Karl actually was in a movie that everybody has seen, right?
I know this. Here comes our moment of. This is our version of Freebird. You know, at everybody's concert. It's like play Freebird. What do we get?
Yeah, Coming to America. That's right. If you've seen Coming to America, you've seen Karl. Although that's, I mean.
Look, incidentally, look at that moment. Karl was in his late 20s or something like that. Karl has 3 kids, right? Okay, I know them all since they were in diapers. And,
he had a big fro in that, right?
Oh yeah, he did. Well, much of a fro he could probably grow, but no. It's funny thing is like he looks just like his son Lewis in that movie, and his son now looks just like what he looked like in that movie.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because
wow.
Lewis is in his 20s. You know,
Wow.
Lewis is like 23, 24 now, or something. He looks just like his dad.
Wow.
Chip off the old block is funny. True story, folks. True story.
But yeah, Karl is he's a flautist, a multi-instrumentalist, plays sax, he's not a flautist first, he's a sax player first, and but every sax player tends to play.
Songwriter, singer.
Singer, great singer, great songwriter, great arranger.
All around nice
good,
guy.
Good, yeah.
I mean, literally, he is. Actually, it's really kind of funny. He is Uncle Karl to a lot of people out there. Everybody loves Karl, and this for a good reason.
I believe it.
My daughters love him.
I met him once. I only
My
met him
wife
that
loves
one
him.
time. That when you were here with obviously KTD. You had the crocodile.
The old alligator club. How the years have passed, I'd forgotten all about that one.
Yeah.
Somehow it just totally escaped my memory. However, there is this venue we played before. It's called the Crocodile.
Oh gosh, it's too funny. In case you're tuning in for the first time, this is Chris C.D. Littlefield. We were just doing the electronic improv sort of stuff. I've actually played in a band with him called Klozd Sirkut, Klozd Sirkut.
Yes, our postmodern revisionist spelling.
Yeah, if you check out, which is actually a predecessor to Blue Sirkut, and if you check out the links, the description, it's all in there, so you can check out find the website and all that sort of stuff. It's all there. Not predecessor. It's the other way around, huh? Or would it be? Did I say that right? I don't think I said that right. Anyways, so I want to move on here and keep talking about because you were going to tell a story about Fat City Smokehouse, right?
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
How much time do we get?
Let's see what we got here. Curtis Seals gets excited, got some thumbs up, and hey, thanks,
goodness,
Curtis.
Love
you,
Curtis knows
dude.
this from back in those days. I've known Curtis forever. Ever.
Hey, by the way, if you all have any questions for CD or anything you'd like to have me talk
Submit
to them
them
about,
in writing by mail.
Yeah. right here in the chat. And I'm also trying to pay attention to if you're on YouTube watching this or if you're on Twitch watching this. I have a multi-stream chat up so I can see anything that comes in. So feel free to submit questions. And I will check back every once in a while. I'm trying to pay attention to a lot of things here.
So you want me to what was in a diatribe?
Well, okay.
Spin the yarn
Yeah.
in terms of Fat City Smokehouse. I can give you the Cliff Notes version,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Give,
or if
give
you
me the
want
yeah.
the
No, don't give me this.
Encyclopedia Britannica
no,
version.
I mean, I suppose I could just stay streaming all night, you know.
Exactly.
But,
You know,
I mean,
times
it's only done when I say it's
sky's
done.
the limit, Joey. Sky's the limit.
Then I'll just cut it down. Or whatever.
We're gonna add this later. Okay, real short. Basically, I mean, it's so hard to sum that because it's actually Fat City Smokehouse is probably one of the most seminal musical occurrences in my career here in Seattle. I mean, literally, a lot of events leading up to that point culminated in the rise and you know continual evolution of Fat City Smokehouse, and it was this sideline thing that happened coming out of the grunge era. When really nobody wanted to hear anything like funk, and the closest thing we were probably to was like I used to tell people it was a version. It was almost like if you took Sly and the Family Stone and Fishbone and kind of threw the two together, and that's what you might come up with. Wow. Fat City Smokehouse, and it was born out of a few different groups. More prominently, it was Bob Lovelace and Ernest Pumphrey, who were in the Ganja Farmers. Okay. It was they were like colleagues of ours in bands we played with when I first started playing here in Seattle in the late 80s, early 90s. All these clubs that most of them don't exist anymore.
Bobby, a lot of people see Bob down from Marmalade.
Yeah, Marmalade,
you know,
and he's played with countless other
too.
people over the years. You know, Akon and gosh, I don't know, Bob. Everybody knows Bob.
Yeah,
how can you play music in this city and not know
that
Bob
way.
Lovelace?
I know it certainly does seem that way. Bob
Seattle
Lovelace.
is Bob Lovelace. Okay, that's pretty much just leave it at that. And he teaches at Seattle Drum School too. You know, and I've just known Bob as a brother. You know, I've known him forever. Anyway, so at that point in time, before that, I was in a band with John Reeser, who's also in Marmalade too. Long dear friend of mine. One of my brothers, actually, at this point. You know, we've known each other longer than we've not known each other. You know, that kind of thing. Okay. The first band I ever played in was John. Anyway, that band disintegrated was with the Hungry Young Poets. He and I fell or got kind of folded into via this jam session we used to host at a warehouse in Georgetown. Members of a lot of bands in that point in time. And you have to remember, this also directly correlates to scene making or creating, because like the whole groove scene or improv scene here in Seattle was something that was kind of manufactured by a lot of like minds. Basically doing something that we like to do, but we're not really subscribed to other things that were going on in the city. So the stuff that we were doing that Fat City Smokehouse was born out of was a counter reaction to what was going on with the grunge movement, because at that point in time in the 90s, you couldn't buy a gig if you were a funk musician or a funk band or something like that. Everybody wanted to go see the next, or was trying to see the next Nirvana or Alice in Chains and all that kind of stuff. And all those bands were hitting their trajectories, really, or the next Soundgardens, all that kind of stuff. So they were all blowing up before it was even called grunge, and then it got called grunge, and it was just all over. But nothing bad about that scene and like music. It was phenomenal. It was a wonderful point in time, and so never come again. But we were all trying to do our thing out of that, and so certain bands and groups and stuff grew parallel to all of that, and it eventually got to a point where it led to nights like Spice and the 700 Club. Thankfully, in the mid '90s, after the grunge movement kind of crested, we got what was called the acid jazz movement. All of a sudden, jazz was popular again. Funk was popular, all this kind of dance music. There was a 70s resurgence of music. Everybody all of a sudden discovered this great band called Parliament, and this other great band called Funkadelic, and then James Brown, and all these people discovered this music for the first time.
Just lit the fire.
Laughing at everybody so much because, man, I grew up listening to all this stuff. Al Green, Earth, Wind, and Fire, all that stuff. I grew up listening to that. But anyway, thankfully, all that stuff got rediscovered, and that's what kind of speared the whole interest in funk and jazz, acid jazz. That's when all those things, when hip hop was like emerging into the golden era, is what a lot of people refer to, the late 90s, mid to late 90s, all that kind of stuff. Right. And all those things were colliding in that fashion. And we were already doing this stuff, and it's one of those things when they say how success is I always forget there's 3 elements that comes, and it's like, luck is one of it, preparedness, and then being in the right place at the right time. Right. And so you get those 3 elements that kind of collide. Well, that's what happened. It was a perfect storm, and so all these things started to, culminate. So you had the 700 Club, but before that we had Adult Swim or something swim. I can't remember what it's called, the Weather Wall, and all these things. Then eventually Das Root That's another thing that came out of the 700 Club. Was at the that's when I started doing stuff directly with Steve Scalfati, who I've been playing music with all times for you know
Yeah,
you
I
and
know
him
Steve.
have the same birthday.
I have an amp he gave
Yeah,
me.
exactly, and a bunch of his cables that he's donated. But Steve Scalfati, my other brother, long dear friend of mine, been playing in the jam scene all this time too. So he was a writer, producer. He's had a jingles.
Thanks, Steve. By the way, I just want to throw that out there in case you happen to tune into this at some point.
And live long and prosper, Steve. We love you, babe. Don't hurt nobody, as he would always say.
That's
Anyway,
amazing.
so he had been doing things like that
you're
for
right,
producing tracks, doing jingles, all this other kind of business for a
Yeah.
long time. And then after the whole Scarlet Tree jingles factory, he'd been doing it in music producing and licensing as well. Sometime down the road, Reggie Watts had left Moktube, went out and started becoming Reggie Watts, as he's known to the rest of the world, and landed the job what he has currently on TV, The Late Late Show with
Right.
James Corden. So he
Corden,
sent for Steve Scalfati to come down and be his production manager for that. So Steve playing keys and really great with the improvisational thing.
Yeah, we were really lucky to get the opportunity. I was lucky enough to, because the connection that you guys had, I was able to go down there and witness it, and
Right.
and that was a really cool experience. Boy, James Corden is really cool. I really,
Oh yeah.
really enjoyed him.
No, his show is fantastic. But basically, that band that's playing there is modeled after a night that me, Reggie, Steve Scalfati, Thaddeus Turner, also from Moktube, Davis Martin from Moktube, and PK, the bass player, Paul Kemish. Been around a long time, fixture in the Seattle, more in the alternative jazz scenes along the lines of like what Crack Sabbath and all the stuff that Skerrick was doing.
Yeah.
PK did more stuff like it was very
Okay.
exploratory with Dara Quinn, Rockin' Teenage Combo,
Okay, back when
Right.
she was doing going down the
Yes.
Prague and all that.
and back in the OK Hotel days, that was a whole other thing there too. There was a lot of experimental stuff, and it's like there's another thing that kind of parallels the whole groove scene that we do here. If you take a page out of Skerrick really kind of being the known ambassador for that, late Todesek and Paul, PK, and there's so many names that go down there. But I refer to that whole thing as like the punk rock jazz scene that came
Punk
out of
rock
Seattle.
jazz.
It's like more like punk rock jazz
okay,
because
yeah.
because
That's a good description for
all
sure.
those guys had a background in jazz, but they also had like a heavy duty rock
Yeah,
background too,
Yeah.
And then this whole healthy dose of like, fuck it, fuck you, whatever. It's like we don't care. Like it's just enough of the anti-establishment, kind of notion.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of like, you know
Hey,
what?
So I had someone. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, that's all right. I
apologize.
could go on about this stuff forever.
I gotta be real careful
I
with
should write
CD
a
here
book.
because we'll go down these rabbit holes and miss exits.
Oh yeah, we're sitting in the same car. I'm driving, and we start talking. We
Oh,
only
my
have
gosh.
to go from like downtown Seattle to like Queen Anne, and by the time we finish our conversation, we're in Everett.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Like, shouldn't we have gotten off like a few? Okay.
Yeah, who cares?
Oh,
So
well.
what were you saying?
Yeah. Oh, well, that was my house back there, wasn't it? Okay. So first, I wanted to kind of let you know what's happening on the stream here. We got Pamela Gerstein popped in. CD, do you know that you're kind of a big deal? Hey.
Oh shoot, was that Pamela? Pamela Gerstein. Oh yes,
And she's
girl,
a
I love you
sharer.
madly.
I want to tell you, thank you so much.
No, Pamela, you're kind of a big deal. You and the biz list.
Thanks
see,
for sharing the
I was
stream.
telling you about a dear friend of mine in San Francisco has been running a list and promoting shows for long before I
right.
was even in the Tiny Universe. I gave a shout out to her. It's like, hey, Pamela, I'm doing this thing tonight. It's like, I don't know, throw it out there if you got time, blah, blah, blah. Love you madly. Talk to you soon. And so, like, of course, she has to say there. She had these wonderful T-shirts, and I beg her to bring them back. And it's like the best list, it was like her list of everything that goes on in the Bay Area. And she still puts this thing out. And it's been like, I'm talking like 20 years of promoting shows this way and various other ways. But she had a series of T-shirts. She hasn't made them in a long time. This is the best list. It's kind of a big deal. And I keep telling her, it's like, you're right. It is kind of a big deal. You need to make them damn shirts again.
Yeah.
You're kind of a big, you are a big deal. All right, I digress.
Hey, no, we're cool. yeah, we're gonna keep going down the road. People are loving the history, so that's really good. Curtis chimed in with that; he's loving it. Davey, thanks for dropping in. Susan said,
Davey Dangerous.
"Yeah,
Nephos.
Davey Dangerous Nephos. You hear that? You got a new."
There's a story behind that one too. It's really funny, but
Ooh, better. Okay.
Sorry.
So some people on here want to know about your unique horns a little bit. You mind kind of mentioning
Horns?
a little your
Acorns?
unique horns?
Oh, unique horns.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe talk about like the mouthpiece, for instance, and maybe a little bit of like just kind of what you got going on with your gear, I guess.
Okay. Gear talk.
Just a
This
little.
is another rabbit hole, folks. So
Oh
just,
no,
just so you know.
I'm gonna
I'm
try. I'm gonna try to pull it
do-it-yourselfer.
back in.
I'm a big DIY guy. All right, so let's get started with this. Okay, real simple. This is a Fugal Horn, a little bit different. It's a conical bore, for those of you interested, as opposed to I forgot what they call a standard bore with trumpet. Meaning conical bore, that like the taper actually gets larger throughout the horn, like a cone. Right? I guess
There we
that's
go. Okay.
conical, right? Oh, okay. Anyway,
Yeah, conical, as opposed to
okay.
comical.
So anyway, non-conical is our trumpet. It's hung up on a bunch of other wires and stuff like this. Okay. So anyway, basically the same key, same fingering combinations, all the same notes come out of both the horns. One sounds a little bit different than the other. This is brighter. The flugelhorn's a little bit darker. All this kind of stuff. But as you mentioned, Joey, mouthpieces and all that kind of stuff. Well, more specifically, as an interface with my gear, I've got two different things here. So this right here is called a piezo or piezo, or however you want to pronounce it. There's so many different ways to go about doing that. But piezo, and this is a microphone, right? Do-it-yourselfer and me, I've crafted this particular mechanism here for mounting onto my horn. I could get into why and how I came up with that conclusion, but it's not important.
That's a recent addition there. That particular, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, this is like you're looking at, I don't know, the third or fourth incarnation of different microphone setups I've used. It's probably actually, this is version 5 of everything else. This particular thing is a piezo. So a piezo, however you want to say it, is more like a pickup on a guitar than anything else. That's the closest thing I could say to that.
Okay.
All right. That being said, this is actually sits on a post in the the mouthpiece, which is a slight hole that goes in this. These things work on vibration, on that sound pressure, like microphones. So, anyway, it picks up the sound. It's converted into signal in this device here. It goes down a cable, and then it goes into a preamp, or preamplifier, and then that powers enough signal to go into my guitar-based effects. So all the effects that I'm using on the floor here are really meant for guitars to play through, not for these applications. And so the unique thing about horn players playing through this kind of stuff, and this also loops in with the whole 700 Club days, that's when I started playing with pedals for the very first time. So using guitar effects for coloring the sound of and affecting the sound of
Like
my
adding
horn.
the wah effect to your horn
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly.
Very
So,
cool effect.
wah, and I've since expanded to things like synthesizer sounds and looping and whatever. So,
Pamela says, I'll bring it back, CD, by the way. Just want to let you know.
thank you. Been asking for years, woman. Send me the first pressing. All right.
Okay, let's okay, cool. That was a little, that's good enough talking about the gear stuff. I
just had to get that out of my system.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm having a sip
I'll
on
let
it
some
next
people know
week,
what's going on. But my main focus is to stay focused on our history and stuff like that, because you got all this knowledge, about all that stuff. I
What,
wanna
and
make
you
sure we
don't?
talk-
Please, you knew
tell
more than enough to even ask me all this stuff. This is your outline we're dealing with. You know the history.
It's yeah, okay. Well, it's based off of we're working together on this. It's a team effort here, team effort. So
Yay,
19
team.
years with KTDU. 10 years you've been working with Seattle Drum School.
Hooray.
You've been working, now I wanted to talk about this group because we haven't talked about them yet, and that is Maramalade. I've mentioned them in passing.
Oh my goodness.
How did that get started? I'm just curious about that.
That's a weird kind of not weird and like kind of a weird thing, like timeline weird, because it's one of those things that kind of leapfrogs or spans over various different things, because like when I went from say the 700 Club to the DOS route, Das Root also paralleled another night that I was doing with very similar, a lot of the same members, and that left the 700 Club when that club closed. We went to the Baltic Room. We used to do, no, it wasn't Spice. God, what was it? Oh, Jambalaya, Peace and Soul. You know, it was all based around spoken word artists. Darius Wilrich was the keyboard player for that. So then there was also Reggie. He was singing and playing keyboard bass. Davis Martin was playing drums. Thaddeus was on. I was on there. Then also a lot of the cats. Erica was in that, and also Jonathan Wordsayer, long may he rest in peace, were the hip hop artists along with Laura Peace Kelly. So we had three, and then Chocolate eventually joined the lineup for that night also. That was a really long-running night, and it ran parallel to Das Root, which we did in Green Lake area at the now defunct building that doesn't even exist anymore, Scarlet Tree, who has a very long, extensive R&B, funk, soul history in and of itself.
Okay.
Which spans way back, through the 70s.
I only really knew it from when it got bought by some new owners and stuff. I played a few gigs
It
there
burned
and
down.
whatnot.
Eventually, it burned down, and then it moved to a different location right there, right off of Ravenna.
That the one that I know of.
That's the one that you're talking about. No, that's
okay.
very, very different. Greasy spoon.
Where was
Divey.
that originally?
That was on.
Is that the one that turned in earlier?
Not on Ravenna. The one that burned down. What was the material that ran through over? It's right over there near where the first Whole Foods ever showed up in Seattle.
But
off
of
of it's in the
area?
Ravenna
No.
area.
Ravenna area. Oh, okay.
No, not Ravenna. What is that? Roosevelt. It was on Roosevelt. It's like 65th and Roosevelt.
Ravenna is where
yeah,
the new
right
ones
around
is.
65th and Roosevelt. Anyway,
Okay.
KZ, ask her. She knows all about it. She'll be more than happy to. I'm sorry, Karen Zam would be more than happy to.
Oh no, call her KZ by all means. I think she prefers.
But
it.
what was the question again? Oh, so we were talking about
Marmalade.
Marmalade,
Start
yes.
up with that.
So Marmalade
By the way, hold on, just 1 second. Hold that thought. I'm only cutting you off for just 1 second because I want to let people know what Marmalade is. They are because they a lot of our audience might not know this, or future watchers. Is Marmalade does exactly what I've been talking about. The whole improvisation on the spot, make it up as you go along. For me, I learned a lot about kind of embodying the groove playing along with the Marmalade. So I thank you, CD, so much for getting me involved in Marmalade.
Absolutely.
Because it really taught me to just chillax and feel things a little more, Yeah, there's an old word for you.
Oh, you kids in your younger generation vernacular.
Oh.
Chillax.
Just chill, relax, chill. Come on.
Chillax.
Relax.
It's available in supplementary form. Take one daily dose.
So
300 milligrams twice a day. Chillax. You'll feel better. Okay, anyway.
About to do. So anyways, for instance, the drums would start going, then the bass would start coming up with some kind of bass line, then the guitars would start doing its thing, and then eventually the horn players would start layering their things on top, which you usually tend to be pretty good at leading the force there, at least as far as I've observed when it came to coming up with lines, although everybody comes up with lines, so it's not to say that, you're the only one there as far as that goes, because they're all bomb. Everybody there is bomb.
It's a collaborative.
Yeah, it's a collaborative thing. I have to say, I really enjoy your lines.
Thank you, Joey.
Yeah, of course.
Again, you're too kind.
And it's headed up by Funk Love. No. Right?
Well, okay. Yes. Funk Love was the original because that night, again, like so many other things, started out of something else, right? Okay, so Fat City Smokehouse, Marmalade. There's a direct throughput that overlies all this other thing that I was talking about. So all those nights that we're developing, concurrently with the 700 Club, Marmalade or New Soul Tribe, actually, which is Chad, Chemo, Funk Love, Funk Scribe, Michael, he's back and forth between here and Thailand, started Marmalade, and then when Fat City kind of was folded and I was touring, I wasn't really in the scene so much anymore. I wasn't around enough to be a part of anything, but I would guest at that night, which started in Fremont. Anyway, those guys folded together their band with members of Fat City Smokehouse into this night that started 15 years ago. So that grabbed a whole nother side story of the Seattle music groove scene, and it culminated into the longest running improvisational night that outlived or was born out of the last years of the final throes of what was going on, say, like in Capitol Hill and, out there in Greenwood, Green Lake area, all that kind of stuff. So, like, Das Root was on its way out. It was dying. People were moving on. People were touring. I left town. And then the Baltic Room thing, and then the 700 Club had already passed on. So, like, this whole groove improv scene really lasted maybe about 7-8 years, and it kind of spanned. It trickled off to about another couple of years, but Marmalade picked up the torch, and all those guys were kids when I met him. Literally, it felt like, I was in my late 30s, and I met Chad, Chad Redlight, wonderful human being. All these guys, they're all fucking wonderful human
actually,
beings.
he's this guy, who he's mentioning right now is going to be my guest in 3 weeks, the last weekend of October.
Yeah. Well, it's like Chad. I remember Chad wasn't even playing drums really at that point. He used to come and sit in and sing, at the 700 Club.
And I don't know him much for being a singer.
Those guys were really, really, really inspired by Jamiroquai. That was a really big thing for those guys. That was that sound, that was going on. And they kind of put something together along that. And again, this is the late 90s. Then flash forward another 20 years, and everything's still kind of going on. But now we're due for about the resurgence of everything we started back in the 90s. So I wouldn't be surprised. By the time of the end of COVID, boom, it's going to be right there. We can only hope. Just Definitely. Anything but this. Well, this is dope. Actually, I have to say, we've gotten very resourceful and very creative. All of us, and a lot of musicians and creative types have manifested some amazing, wonderful, resourceful things out there. The creative spirit lives on, and so will the human condition. So anyway, I digress once again.
Let's take a. We would talk for a while, so I want to give you guys a little tidbit of some music again. But we're not going to play anything. What I'd rather do is show you a video that CD has made. Sorry, I got to get in the mic here. CD has made a video of an original song that you just kind of came up with, right?
I did.
Doing the looping in the process?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
And similar to what we had just done in this previous improv, I believe you already were saying the title.
Oh, right now, yeah. I mean, it's just, no better time than now, right?
That's right.
So
that's why we're here right now.
That's what came to me
right
at
now,
the time.
Right here.
And so it literally was that because it was something I hadn't done before. So I did it right then and there. Of course, that moment of improvisational that I captured, it only took me 3 months to actually work the whole thing out, to edit it and figure out how to edit it, learning the software video-wise and all this kind of business. But it happened right now, happened 3 months later.
And with no further ado, here is Right Now, Right Now. there you have it. Right now was just then. But right now we're going to talk about closed circuit and blue circuit. I'm a huge fan.
And what's the difference? And see if you can detect what it is.
Well, the members, a big portion of the stylings and stuff that had happened was really cool. The process that you went through, I believe, is a little. We haven't totally gone down that road with the closed circuit, but we definitely have the collaboration stuff going on there. Talk about some of who are your original members with Blue Circuit?
Original members of Blue Circuit, very similar to some of the members of the Tiny Universe and Closed Circuit. And basically what that comes down to is, I don't know if you, Joy, are detecting a theme here in my life and my career and all the musical undertakings that we're discussing that I've been a part of, but there's another crossover element there too. So Blue Circuit was due to a hiatus that the Tiny Universe had taken, which was supposed to be a year, turned into 3 years, and the band nearly broke up. So David Veith, keyboard player from Closed Circuit, from the Tiny Universe, Brian Jordan, the guitar player from the Tiny Universe, and then myself, the drummer at the time, the long-term drummer, 10 years or more, 15 years, John Staten, was in that as well, and then myself. And we decided to start, we all were really into this whole new jazz electronica thing, especially Dave and I, which was like Jazzanova, stuff like that, or Afrobeat jazz, or, all this world beat electronica that was coming out at that point in time, or Afro House.
Yeah.
And he and I were really sprung on this. This is also, again, on the heels of the post-late acid jazz movement. Also the West London broken beat movement, and also not Afro jazz, but Afrobeat stuff. All right, anyway, so that band went through a bunch of evolutions, as you might think, personnel-wise, and then eventually fell off. Tiny Universe got back together. We started touring again. Couldn't sustain it. There was no way. I still had this thing in the back of my head. It'd be nice to do this again, but we were all spread up and down the coast. Also, gosh, what am I thinking of? Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks.
Alton. Yeah, it's like we got 5 people together in this band, and the 5th member was actually a visualist. The 5th member was integrated into the band. That was one of the also founding concepts of what we had to have somebody do the visualist. Brooks had also done visuals for the Tiny Universe. We met him touring, opening up for the Allman Brothers. And then he eventually, at the end of touring with them, came over to our thing. He's also a longtime burner, 10 or 11 years at that point in time, was a San Francisco resident, also a video DJ and all this kind of stuff, knew tons of people, blah, blah, blah. He and I still remain very close to this day. Anyway, Tiny Universe starts touring again, blah, 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 blah. Had this thing stuck in the back of my head. I missed Blue Circuit, couldn't maintain it. We had People's Band and all up and down the coast from San Diego to BC. Papa Josh, who I met in that time frame, took over for Brian Jordan when he left the group. And then when I started the next incarnation of this, it became Closed Circuit. So I decided to do it with all local musicians. So you were the first guy. Or actually, Josh was the first guy. Talking to him about that. Steve Scalfati was the next. Davey C. was the obvious choice, playing drums.
Obvious.
Steve Scalfati couldn't do it because of his obligations. He couldn't remain on board for too long, and then he wanted to move into L.A. You and I met at that point in time, which is very coincidental because you and he share the same birthday by a day. You're off by a day. So it was, again, divine providence here that you and I should be collaborating musically after all this stuff. So blah, blah, blah. That was the second incarnation, so that's how we wound up here today. And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. AVC.
Hey, guys, I guess it's time to unload the van right now.
Yeah, so, okay.
Our precursor.
Yeah, I thought we'd go ahead and talk about that to kind of get it set up here. We're going to do a song that I brought to the band, and when CD said to come up with a tune, and I sat there thinking about like what would be like the vibe, what would be like the based off of Blue Circuit and whatnot. I felt like this one kind of meant a lot.
Kind
to
of
me.
transcended it all.
This is called Frozen, and this song is about the Seattle freeze in Seattle because we have that, and I know a thing or two about the Seattle freeze.
Right.
I've definitely dealt with it myself. Sorry, y'all, if I've made any of you freeze. But it's a condition. But you can get through it. We can get through it. We can break through that ice. I promise. Like a cold breeze, I look you dead in the eyes to get them shaky knees. You got that cold front when you think I'm on the hunt, and when I try to throw down, you're always keeping it blunt. Well, it's sunny days in your Arctic weather. When I'm walking away, you don't think that I met you. Got a cute little gaze, but you're stuck in a daze. And when I look in your face, you're like a maze in a hazy phase. Well, stand up and we'll dance together. I said stand up and we'll dance together. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up and we'll dance together. Get up and we'll groove forever. Look up and your eyes are closed. So cold that the dancers froze. Stand up and we'll dance together. Get up and we'll groove forever. Look up and your eyes are closed. So cold that the dancers froze. I'm frozen. I'm frozen. you when I smile and I wave, you're always looking the other way. Stand up and we'll dance together. Get up and we'll groove forever. Look up and your eyes are so cold that the dancers go. Stand up and we'll dance together. Get up and we'll groove forever. Look up and your eyes are so cold that the dancers go.
here I was worried that I'd never get to play that tune again.
There you have it. I'm looking at releasing that song here in
And if you don't,
real short. He's
I'm
gonna
just
kick
gonna
my
have to
butt.
talk about you for the rest of your life. I've been urging this man to get that tune out there forever.
Hey, thanks so much, Susan. Thanks for tuning in, Justine. Oh, thank you so much, everybody. Hey, Nathan Collar, he's in there. He's the one who did the artwork at the beginning. He's
Bravo, my man.
Yeah.
Well done. I say, splendid,
with the lightning shooting
Splendid.
through your horn and all that.
smashing.
Yeah.
I say.
Well, I feel like we've kind of like we've reached an apex here.
Point of critical mass, Joy.
You know, I wanted to also point out. So I wanted to do a couple of make sure to get some shout outs. I want obviously to Nathan Collar for doing the artwork that's at the very beginning, and you'll see it here in just a moment as well because it's in the outro. I want to do a shout out to Made in Quarantine for doing that episode with you.
Oh, yeah.
Episode number 7. Check it out.
Aaron Strait. And, oh, gosh, why am I forgetting his production company's name?
I know that it's something All Star.
Yes.
I have this note. It's in the credits. I know I have it in the credits. Soul All Star. Soul.
Oh, Soul Stars. Soul.
Soul.
All the souls are stars. All souls
Oh no!
are stars.
Oh no!
Yes, that's it. Sorry, Aaron. Forgive me.
Yeah.
For we know not what we do.
It's in the credits, so you'll see it. So is it Soul?
Oh, that's a great
Soulcast?
plug for that
Soulcast?
the documentary that they did about me
Yeah.
at the very beginning. Made in Quarantine.
I should have written that one down. I wrote down
Oh,
the
that's
website.
all right. I mean, I think you put that in the credits, though. You asked me
Yeah.
about it. It's out there.
It's in there.
Yeah.
It's in the credits for sure.
Check out the Made in Quarantine mini documentary series by Aaron Strait and his production company. It's brilliant what people, again, ties into that notion I was telling you about how, like, people have taken this opportunity one of two ways. You know, it's like, bless all the people that are making it through hardship, as we all are. And I know we're very fortunate, myself and my colleague here, and I've been forced to, not actually forced, but willingly, happily, do this beforehand, but now I'm even more incredibly aware of it, but counting our blessings, which I've been saying, adamantly before and since this whole business started, the age of pandemic and protest that we find ourselves in. But Aaron's documentary speaks very right to the point and the heart of all of that.
This way, you see, you can't see it on my screen. Good. I was gonna look up the name real quick. Focus on amplifying. Radio Star, Sound of Musicians. I'm here. Derek Mazzone, KXP, right? Where is it?
Yeah, there's also a farming episode in there. I think it was his wife. They used to grow hemp, and then they actually converted themselves into being actual, growing food, like agriculturalists. So, yeah, a lot of creative, resourceful, reinterpreting your life sort of style is happening out there for a lot of people. So, it's a profound time of readdressing and re-envisioning, the human spirit, which shall live on long after this is behind us.
Oh, totally. Definitely. I was hoping I could pull it up in time to be able to put it in the video. Soul Coast, gosh dang it. Okay,
It's in there.
anyways.
We'll get
all right,
back
it's
to
in
it.
there. I'm so sorry. I digress. Let's get back on creative. So we talked about KTDU. We talked about if you want lessons or anything like that, hit up Seattle Drum School. Any kind of lessons you're looking for, they can make it happen. I guarantee it. There you go. He's got the shirt right there on. Yeah. No, it's not.
I also teach music production. Lesser known fact.
Yes.
I love that chord. That's so soothing.
Here,
I
wait.
love
I'm
major.
gonna leave you guys with one more piece of music that CD made. Cause I want one little video here, and then I got one last thing to do with you, and then we'll have it wrapped up. So here's Here's another original song. What was this?
Oh, this
Silver-
was something that Aaron asked me to compose, not specifically this, but he said, come up with something meaningful, soulful, introspective, all this kind of stuff. Mostly solo trumpet, which I've never really done before. And anyway, so I went into my studio, just pulled up a track, played some chords on the piano or on some synthesizers in my digital audio workstation, and started playing over it, and then eventually sculpted something out of it for the mini documentary based on COVID and transforming our lives to the best of our abilities. So this particular tune is called Silver Lining, or Trumpet Soliloquy Silver Lining.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful CD. Love that too.
Yet again, Joey, I have to repeat myself in saying you're far too kind.
Okay, I'll pull it back a notch.
Okay, actually, true story. When I did that, I how whenever you say something to yourself and you just kind of crack yourself up sometimes.
It happens, yes.
All right. Funny thing about this tune is it's almost the opposite of cracking myself up. It's that, like, when I came up with the final version of this tune, I think I was sitting in my studio one night, late night, I'd finished it and I put it on, let it play. And then I just kind of started thinking about all the stuff that's been going on during quarantine, pandemic, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And some other people have, like, written some great tunes out there too. I've come across some others. And David Veith turned out a great tune, When This Is All Over, from his production group. David Veith, who was the original member of Blue Sirkut, and also the long-standing, he's the only member in the band of the Tiny Universe has been there longer than that. He beat me by 2 years. But he's pretty much the original keyboard player of the Tiny Universe. Fantastic producer, can't say enough about this guy. And a buddy of mine. And sort of a mentor and inspiration for, I can go on and on and on about all this kind of stuff. But he wrote a fantastic tune, When This Is All Over, with his production group and duo. But anyway, so this was kind of my antithesis of all this. And it's like, it hit me one day when I didn't, like, when you're working on stuff, you're not really thinking about it. Sometimes you don't always assess an emotional thing to it. Mm-hmm. And I was playing this one night, and I had floored myself. I literally ruined myself. I fell apart listening to this song, and then, like, everything that's going on, all the pressures and the frustrations, the loss, and just
hear it in there.
So many things,
really
that are going through what we're all going through right now, kind of fell upon me. So it's the opposite of cracking myself up. It's like I just made myself fall apart, as I wrote this tune. And I've never really done that to myself, and it wasn't intentional. It was just happened.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, carry on.
There's one final question. So here's the deal is I end the show. Thank you, by the way, to everyone that's hung out and watched the whole show. There's actually been
Absolutely.
a pretty
Cheers, y'all.
solid attendance the whole way through. Thanks, Curtis, for hanging out. I saw your message up here saying you enjoyed the show. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that very much. And thank you to everyone that shared it. And thank you to anybody else in the future who sees this and decides to share it. But I always try to close out the show. I give every artist a chance to give some words to the world. Some words to the world. So as in like, it could be a mantra. It could, what I'm looking for is something from your heart. Something like if you could whisper something into the ears of everybody in this world right now, what might that be?
That one is really simple for me, Joey, and you'll know why simply after I say it. And it's like it's more of a quote. It's something that stems from my childhood. Actually, this stems from something that has been around in existence virtually as long as I have. And everybody knows that I am a really big Star Trek fan. Goes without saying. You know?
I am too. I'm huge.
And Star Trek and I actually are the same age, which is 54 years. So Star Trek started in 1966, that year that I was born. Okay, so there's another thing. So if I had to leave anybody with anything, the age-old Vulcan wish for anyone from greeting and in passing, and live long and prosper, y'all.
There you have it. Live long and prosper. That's right. What does that mean to you? To live long and prosper.
Very simply, it's just like live a long, full, fruitful, meaningful life as best, to the best of your ability. Do the best that you can, get through it. There's always extenuating circumstances of what all it is. It's like we know life is a series of ups and downs, and it's just like, as the saying goes, I don't know who said it. I think it was bass player for Sly and the Family Stone. Why am I forgetting his name? It'll come back to me in a second. But, the saying goes, it's like the only way to get to it is to go through it. And that's kind of it, And at some point, you reach the other side, And life is always going to throw stuff at you one way or another. And the thing that I came up with, and this is my own saying, it's right up there with like, you never know when you're making a memory. Well, it's like I always say, like, nobody ever complains about the good stuff. Nobody ever complains about the good times, right?
No.
So, again, live long and prosper. Nobody ever complains about the good stuff.
Thank you again to everybody for tuning in. This was episode number 4.
Episode number 4.
Number 4. So
Wait,
next.
did I do that right?
No, it's 3.
So 1, 2,
3.
okay. Well, 4-ish.
That's okay. So next week we have R.L. Hayer. I'm really excited about that one. It's gonna be really, really fun. It's my first guitar player in here, so that's cool.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. Thank you again all for hanging out.
RL?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
RL Hayer.
Gracious. Man, you got to get him and Danny Godinez up in here. Oh gosh, the list goes on.
Oh, it does. It does.
Thaddeus.
I'm trying. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Get Thaddeus.
I'm trying to start out with people that have personal.
Shit, you know what? You could do this remotely with Papa Josh too.
Yeah.
You could do this remotely with Papa Josh.
There's a lot of options. Anyways, thank you again so much. Thank you again, CD, for bringing here. Chris Littlefield.
Thank you so much for having me, Joey. This is actually truly has been like a real highlight and a big honor. And I got to be honest, everybody. It's like even though in the age of pandemic and it seems like the general ethos is like, oh, musicians, they're out of gigs, they don't have anything else to do with their time, and it's like, again, Seattle Drum School, it's like I've got a lot of students. I also have a family at home, which I'm unfortunately not spending enough time with because I spend all my time in my studio, my second home at the Seattle Drum School. So exactly. I'm working on stuff quite a bit. So I just did a live stream with. I couldn't do it last week. I had to cancel on you because I had a live stream thing with Macklemore.
Right, which is why we couldn't stream last week.
Minute.
So yeah, that's
it's
a good excuse though. It was a good excuse.
It was a good excuse.
I was like,
I had to.
Macklemore or my yeah.
And I don't. And granted, I don't. I'm not one of those guys who's going to cancel on you because I just got a better gig, right? Like $25 or something.
No,
like that. It's just like
no, but a famous pop star. Yeah,
something like that comes up. It's kind of like, damn, dude, sorry, can I?
Yeah.
And it's like,
no. You know, I'm all for supporting him anyways. So I'm like, yeah, please.
Oh, dude, the cat is so righteous. Well, and the cool thing about the live stream that we did at Numos, it was for a benefit. It was a taping for a benefit for all the venues and musicians, on behalf of all of us and all of the places we work in Washington State during this time, of need. So he's lending his voice, and he did this of his own volition. He was asked, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And he had some wonderful. The guy, it's like one of those things. I've met and played with a lot of people. Ani DeFranco. She's another one.
Yes,
she's
we
another
meant to go down that
one
road
of them. Like
too.
Karl's one of them, definitely. Hands, everybody who knows Karl knows Karl. It's like when you see is what you get. Karl is that genuine guy. Ani is that genuine person. Macklemore, he was that guy, and it's like he talks about his history and his experiences and the things that coming from this point to this point, and how he got there, and he raps about it. He talks about those things, all his stories. Same thing with Ani, same thing with Karl, all these individuals, and it's like there's a reason why certain people stand out, and then when you meet them, you realize it's like, wow, this person is pretty doggone genuine. As an individual. And I was struck by that because listening to him address the camera and whoever will be, eventually viewing the video that we did, he talked about a lot of stuff where, he remembered the clubs playing for 4 people, 5 people, making enough money for gas money to get home from the club, plus selling a couple T-shirts. He was good. Yeah. All those kinds of things. And, having the opportunity to look backwards over that. And plus, he's somewhat of an activist also, and he's definitely all up in the BLM movement and supporting of that because, like, he comes from hip-hop culture, which is black culture, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I can't say enough about him. And, and then the other artists that are of that ilk and that unique, when you see them and you meet them, it's like, wow, there's a reason why you are who you are, kind of a thing. So,
and through all their perseverance, they are able to live long and prosper. Yeah?
Absolutely. And there's the beauty of it, Joey. It's like I tell a lot of my students and also tell my daughters, this is like there's no secret to the process. And he says the same thing too. It's just like it's out there for everyone. It's just time and effort, dedication, perseverance. There's no secret.
Well, thanks again for all your dropping all the knowledge. I told you he was going to drop knowledge. Did I not say it? I said it.
Well, you didn't say it was going to be worthwhile knowledge, though, Joey. There's a difference.
I'm really glad that you talked about what you just talked about. I was kind of going like, oh, here we go. We're going to be missing our stop again. But
that was my self-effacing ways here.
We're at 2 hours, I think, now.
All right, let's play some music, damn it. Come on. I'm tired of talking. I talk too much. This is all your fault.
I love you all. You want? Okay. Let me see. Let me see what's going on here. All right. We're gonna do. I'm just gonna do a little. We gotta do a really short. Keep it super short.
Oh, little.
And then I'm just gonna. All right. We're just gonna go ahead and so you can.
Hurry up! The stool is hurting my behind.
Right.
There's virtually no padding here on this thing that I'm sitting on.
Oh man!
I'm sitting on a big boulder. It's a slab.
All right. So one last tune, one last improvisation for y'all in the name of
basalt.
In the name of Seattle. in the name of the Seattle.
I'm sitting on a marble slab. I hate the stool.
Here's one last improv for y'all. Don't know what's gonna happen.
I should probably stand at the ready.
Let's start with like an ambient sound. Let's see what. I'll just something here. Since time is running out, we'll start with a clock.
Excuse my free lip buzzing.
and
Yes, yes, y'all. Ooh-wee. Joey Soulbaum, y'all.
Chris C.D.
Keys and
Littlefield,
vocals.
y'all.
Ooh-wee.
All right.
I missed this.
All right, we've done past the 2 hour mark. So hey, thank you all again for tuning in. Appreciate it so much. I see there's 5 of you still in here. Hey, troopers. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you again a million times. I just can't thank you all enough. It's been a lot of fun. This has been a great experiment. We've delved into so much history, the 700 Club all the way to Maramalade, to the current electronic sort of thing going on. We're leaving you with the living long and prosper. So I'm just going to throw you one of these things and let you guys go ahead and see the end.
That's it.
All right. Bye, y'all.